So I've got a couple of kind of qualifications to my name or background. I've trained with the prestigious Central School of Speech and Drama in London. Also, I'm a qualified vocal first aider. So that's not something for pronunciation and diction and things like that. It's more about looking after your voice and the workings of the lungs and the larynx and the lips and the tongue and the mouth and the resonators and so on, and the various cavities that we spoke about dozens of episodes ago, right at the beginning of this course. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart. We're looking at how you can write better to have much more influence with your audience. And if you know that a script is better written, then you're going to be much more comfortable as you read it. Your stress is going to drop and your voice is going to sound much more resonant, and you're going to sound much more confident and much more persuasive as well. It's another suggestion with your script writing. Cutting down on the figures. Too many big numbers put a speed bump in the flow of a read. It not only clutters copy, but confuses the ear of the listener. So, round them up or down to make them easier to say and to understand. So for 246,326, write almost 250,000. Or perhaps even better, nearly 250,000. Resist the temptation to use 1 million instead of 1 million, because listeners can easily confuse it for 8 million, yeah? A million. Is that a million? Or 8 million? Write out symbols, the dollar, pound, hashtag, as the words dollar and pounds and hashtag. Otherwise, the reader of that script has to read forwards and backwards through the combination of signs and words in a script. Yeah? See what I mean? So if you have £8M, you're actually saying those parts of that phrase out of order. You're actually saying pound 8 million, whereas actually you want to be saying 8 million pounds. So put the words and the signs in the sentence in the order in which they're going to be read. Putting the pound sign and then 200 million is fine for the eye, but in the eye-to-mouth coordination it slows down the read and could cause a slip. It's much easier to write it so the reader just keeps reading forward. And it's not just big numbers that may be a problem. So too may be lots of them, particularly if, as in this actual example, it's in a context that you as a reader know little about and struggle to make sense of. So, as I say, here's another actual script that was once left for me to read on air. Okay, were I a huge cricket fan, then I may have been able to have sight-read it fluently, but most of the listeners aren't experts either. You are the communication conduit, and you need to understand it yourself before giving it a relatable read. And arguably the person who wrote this particular script I'm about to bring you in a few seconds' time is an expert, but they haven't translated it to make it more understandable, more relatable, more readable. Here it is. England opener Dom Sibley says he should have scored 5 Test centuries and is greedy for more big runs in the final 2 Tests against Pakistan. The 24-year-old former Surrey man averages 39.50 with the bat for his country and has scored 200s in 10 Tests since making his debut in November 2019. He made 8 and 36 in the first Test, and ahead of today's start of the second Test, admits international cricket is a big learning curve. There's a lot going on there. I would suggest most of it is unnecessary. Certainly, perhaps we don't need to have all of those exact numbers there, and certainly 39.50. There's going to be an easier way to write that story to make it easier to read and easier to understand. Again, if a script is complicated and convoluted, then the reader may trip up over themselves, which is going to destroy their confidence to a certain extent. And if they trip up over themselves, the audience is not going to have much confidence in the other stories that reader is bringing them either. How would you say the digits 100? I've got my take on that tomorrow as Get a Better Broadcast podcast and video voice continues. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.